impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. What better way to start a presentation than by quoting Muhammad Ali? There is really an art and a science to make the impossible possible. The science part is something which most of us understand here, but it needs to be consolidated with art to make it a wonder. And that art is change. And the change comes with experience. Experience change. Hello everyone, I am Nishkal. That is Dhruv, Gautam, Shyamla, Mudit and Priyasha. Firstly, I would like to take a moment and applaud Section B for their commendable effort. That was indeed a heartfelt presentation. But we would like to take a slightly positive aspect of experience change in our presentation. I know that you are all very tired after a day full of classes. You've been to a quiz and you've been through a presentation. Well, Anupam sir has been through 7 presentations, my God. So we would like to make it a little more interesting. And we would do it by telling you stories. When I first heard of this topic, the first thing that came to my mind, I will change the world. And that's the thing which most of us experience, right? So, but it's not bad, but let us look at this AV.
When I was young, my imagination was without borders. I was dreaming of changing the world. And by time, when I became older and wiser, I discovered that the world never changes. So I decreased my ambitions and I decided to change my country. But over time, I found that my country cannot be easily changed. And when I became old, I tried to change my family and the people closer to me, but also failed. And today, I'm on my deathbed. I realized suddenly that I should change myself, then my family, then my country, and who knows, maybe the whole world.
So start with yourself. Start the change from yourself.
Friends, now let me take you through the story, an inspirational story of the majestic eagle. So an eagle, it lives up to the age of 50 years, but to reach this age, it has to take a hard decision. At the age of around 25, the eagle's claws, they go blunt. Its beak, they get bent. And its feathers, they get stuck to its chest, making it difficult for the eagle to fly. So, now the eagle is faced with a criteria. It has 2 options. Either it can die, or it can go through a painful process of change. Then the eagle flies atop a cliff, and there, it knocks its beak against a rock, and it plucks out its talons, and it plucks out its feathers, and it waits for these to regrow. Once these have regrown, the eagle takes off on its famous flight of rebirth.
Can we afford to wait till something happens and then react to it always? What do you think? Yes, it's absolutely a no. You cannot always do that. So we must be open to understand, decide, and accept and integrate the change. And this is a cycle. Yeah, this is a cycle. But how? Let's understand this. First question that comes to our mind when we think about change is, why do we have to change? The first thought that we get is this. To answer this, question yourself, what if you don't change? Then you'll get a bigger picture. Then you'll realize that you're not controlling anything and you're being controlled. And you just have to adapt to the situations and act accordingly. What you can do is anticipate the possible effects of change that have to be included and come out with the action sets. Now, evaluate, understand the pros and cons of each set and come with the best action set. It seems that understanding the problem and bringing a solution to adapt yourself to the change is set and the problem is solved. But no, the major hurdle is here. Acceptance. Is it as easy to feel that you can accept a change? It's definitely not. Because for that, you have to break all your boundaries, come out of your comfort zone, and convince yourself that change is inevitable. Because if you don't change, you don't survive. Accept the change, accept the new changes that can be included, and take responsibility for what you have to do and what you would be doing. That is just for your benefit. I mean, you will be advantageous at the end of the day. Understand the positive effects of the change, and then the integration part comes. You understood, you decided, and you are accepting the change. You are ready to accept the change now. You have to integrate it. And imbibing all the changes, it's not done yet, because change never dies. We still have to be open, and we have to embrace the future changes that may come up, because this is a change cycle, but not just change.
So now I would like to relay the story Shyamala told with the proactive change cycle. So the understanding part would be when the eagle understood that to live further, it has to go through a process of change. And the decision-making part is when the eagle evaluates all the different possible strategies. And the accepting part is knowing that it has to undergo a lot of pain, a lot of suffering to go on and live further. And the integrating part is when it actually goes atop the cliff, pulls out its feathers, beaks, and claws, and goes on its famous flight of rebirth.
One thing that is permanent is change. Through the eagle story, we saw how we can bring the change about ourselves with our actions. But what about a reactive change in which we don't have control over the environment? Our environment changes, and because of that, we have to change and experience that change. So to tell you that this, I'll use an example. An example I guess most of us here would be able to relate to. This is a boy who is a goal-oriented boy, focused, goal-driven, determined. He has in mind that I will achieve what I have set for. But then the environment changes. There's a change through which he will react. And that change comes in form of a beautiful girl. See, he meets a new girl, he does not know what to do now. Anxiety starts building inside him. He's never felt like this before. He's never felt like this. He's always been focused on his studies. But now he starts feeling differently. And he starts imagining a life with that girl. How will it be? I'll go on a coffee with her. I'll go on a date with her. I'll go on a drive with her. I'll take a walk on the beach with her. And that is when happiness starts. And he does things which he could not have imagined. Look at this. He might do such things to impress the girl. And then after that, but then problem is that he's not the lone wolf. We all know that. We're not the lone wolf. There are other guys as well who are trying to impress the girl. And because of that, fear starts. Like this we can see. He's thinking that he'll impress the girl. But then there's someone else who's already doing that. So as we see that he does not have control over the environment. He does not have control of what is going on. He has to react to it. And he's doing some things which you would never imagined. And then because of that, a feeling of threat is developed inside him. He's experiencing things for the very first time. And then he even goes on to do some things which is unethical, which his values do not conform to, like this.
So till now what we have seen is the boy has been having very emotional feelings. He has been attracted towards a girl, and he has also seen external stimulus in the form of threat. And right now what has happened is all this emotional turmoil has actually manifested itself into a physical form of abuse. So after the abuse, when he actually reflects on the matter, he understands that what he has done, what kind of a person he has become because of the physical abuse that he has done. This is the part of guilt. The next part comes his depression. Here he actually evaluates what has been happened in his life, how the relationship has been, how he had imagined it. So this is one reaction that is not in his control and is actually making him go flip out of his feelings. He is not able to understand what is happening to his life, what the future lays ahead, how he is going to cope up with it. Finally, after accepting the changes that has been happening with him, he is finally ready to move on. He is ready to accept the change And then, with the help of his friends, which help as a physical stimuli, they help. Using that, he is also ready to accept the change and move on. Finally, after moving on, he has goal-oriented. He's become more mature, and this is how all the experiences of change have made him into a better person. The cycle that we just saw is called a reactive change cycle. In this, all the changes that is going on, you react to it. You do not proactively take decisions according to the change, you can anticipate. So this is how the reactive change cycle works.
Change is always good. I am not talking about this change. But seriously, do you think change is always good? See, our nature is very balanced. It always has positive changes, it always has negative changes. Everything comes in bundle. Let's take the example of a species. In past few centuries, how many species has extinct from Earth? But one species getting extinct doesn't make a much difference, right? This is what we actually think. How would it make a difference if we are not able to see dinosaurs? But let's talk about vultures. You know about this bird. Anyways, so this is one of the natural scavengers. It feeds on dead animals, and it can finish an animal of a size of a bull in just 2 hours. It helps us to keep our environment clean. But in past 15 years, their population has decreased from 4 crores to 1 lakh. This is a drastic number. You cannot ignore such a number. You need to find the reason why this happened, because this actually harms our environment. There's a very small reason behind this, a drug called diclofenac. This is a drug which is usually given to animals when they are ill. So what happens, this is a very cheaply available drug. When you give this to some animal, and by any chance if that animal dies, and vultures are going to consume that, in mere 24 hours they are going to die, just because of the kidney failure. And this had led to the death of 99.4% of their population. So this is a small change that happened, a mere change in the advancement in medicine or something, but it has drastically changed the balance of the earth. This is not a single example. There are numerous other examples that you can quote that changes are not always good. So before you consider any change, it is necessary that you analyze the change deeply, because this is what is necessary, because all changes can't be good.
So I started off with saying we want to make the impossible possible. And how do we do it? Yeah, next slide. So, this is how we do it. Believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, believe in yourself. And we keep hearing that again and again. And that is a word which is being overused a lot these days. I would beg to differ. And I would substantiate it with a story to explain why belief alone is not important for you to get some change within yourself and achieve the impossible. So there is a small experiment where a group of people were given hallucinogen drugs, let's say weed. So they really believed that they could fly. They believed it so much that they went to the top of the building and they jumped off. So there's some problem there, right? So what is the first step you do when you actually believe you could fly? What do you think is the first step you do when you actually think you could fly? Yeah, you take off from the ground first. And ducks know that. Ducks do not get into an elevator, go to the top of the building and jump off, because they know. They have an evidence back that only when you get off from the ground is there a reality of actually flying. Yeah. So a belief without evidence is savage and it's delusional. So we have talked about a reactive change cycle, we have talked about a proactive change cycle, and we have also talked about the negative aspects of change. But ending it on a slightly positive note, we would like to conclude our presentation by this AV.
Change is refreshing. Videocon. Experience change.
Guys, change is beautiful. Change is beautiful. Change is happiness. Change is refreshing. Yeah, we are open to questions, but before we are open to questions, I would like to make a disclaimer here. The example which we have used in reactive change is something which can be done by reversing the gender roles. But the reason which we have done it is it's much easier to get this content on the internet than the other content. So that's why we've done that. We are open to questions.